Hello and welcome to the Wool and Twine Fiber Studio YouTube channel. My name is Jule and I'm the dye and maker behind Wool and Twine Fiber Studio, which is a small creative space located here in northern Germany where I play with botanical dyes and natural yarns. Welcome back to a new video where I will show you everything that will be available in the next yarn collection. So why I make these videos is that I can show you all the colorways that I've been working on in natural light and movement, which I think is the best way to showcase them. And what I also wanted to mention is that all of these colorways, even though they have names and some of them might even sound familiar, all of my colorways are dyed with plants, which means that they cannot be exactly recreated over a long period of time due to, different seasonal varieties in the plants. They grow, they are not designed in a lab. So every time a season or a harvest might come in, is very affected by how the factors were during that season, how much sun was there, how the soil was, and therefore all of these colorways are kind of one of a kind, because even though I might be able to recreate similar colors, they will not ever be the complete exact same, which is why I think it's the easiest to show it to you in movement and natural lighting so you can get an idea of the shade. For this collection, it's going to be a really, really big one. Just because I am going to be spreading shop updates a tiny little bit more over the summer, because I'm also working on another big project that I'm going to mention in a bit. There will be a bit more of like a spread out, not your regular once a month shop updates during the summer, which is why I tried to make this collection especially big. So there is a lot to choose from. And obviously there also is Tour de Fleece around the corner, so I also added in a tiny little bit of spinning fiber. It's not a huge amount, but I've tried my best to make some available for you in case that is something you're interested in. And yeah, as mentioned, there will be a bit more like scattered around shop updates in the next couple of weeks, which is going to be because I'm working on this year's countdown calendars, and pre-orders are currently still live. There is a full video up on my channel where I chat you through all the details, and there is an info page. I will link everything down below. But if you're interested in a countdown calendar this year, I'm doing one more round, which will be the last countdown calendar I'm doing. So yeah, there are still options to pre-order, and how this works is that you're placing a small deposit as like saving your slot in the production line, and then the full invoices will come in August. Therefore, you can, have a bit more flexibility and a bit more predictability when it comes to, finances and budgeting. But yeah, all of that info will be available on the info page and the dedicated video. I just wanted to say that we have a few last slots left, but some of them are really lowering. I believe we're like down to the last 10 in the 12-day version of the heirloom one, and also probably down to the last 8 for the sock set version, and also I believe the spinning fiber one is going really, really low. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, feel free to get your pre-order in rather sooner than later. And it cannot be ordered together with any yarn from this upcoming collection, just because this is going to be a pre-order, and then those will ship later this year in somewhere around end October. So, but there should also be a pop-up not letting you add the countdown calendar product with anything else into your cart. But yeah, just wanted to get that out of the way. Pre-orders are still open until I reach production capacity, which I cannot really predict when that will be. But as said, some of the tiers are really lowering. And so, yeah, just to get that out of the way, a little bit of admin, let me get to the next section and tell you a bit more about what bases we will available in this collection. So for the June collection, we will basically be having 2 yarn bases and then 1 base for spinning fibers. The first base will be a restock of our beloved Nurture, which is 100% fin sheep wool in a single ply, beautiful for shawls or any summer projects, but also works very well held double in case you're more of like a DK weight gauge person. That one will be restocked probably for the last time in like a couple of months at least. So I made sure that I would dye like a huge batch and have a lot of that yarn available. Additionally, we will be having a new yarn, which is called Flow, and it is a beautiful new yarn that I absolutely love and think is perfect for any kind of summer knits as well as transitional pieces. And it has some alpaca in it, but I'm going to go a bit more in depth about this one in a full dedicated video that I will link definitely somewhere. And that video will also have, you know, pattern suggestions, all of the jazz that I always have about my yarn intros. But what I can say is that it is a fingering weight yarn with 350 meters per 100 grams. And it is a blend of 50% BFL and 50% British Suri alpaca, which makes me so incredibly happy just because I have not had an alpaca base in my shop ever since I started because I did not really like to source any alpaca fibers from overseas. So I try to keep my sourcing radius relatively small and limit myself to like European sources for my fibers. So when I came across or was introduced to the opportunity to source some British Suri alpaca, I was so excited. And you know, because I thought it's such a special fiber, I also went in with a slightly bolder idea. So it's like a 50% British Suri alpaca. And that part of the base is also brown. So the Suri alpaca is brown. It's not white or ecru, which results in this very beautiful natural shade. I don't know if you can see that. But that is its natural shade. And it is this stunning, cool toned brown. I know it's a bit of a bold call to make a dark yarn that would be, you know, a summery blend, but I thought, you know, why not? I was really intrigued by it, and I really, really liked the fiber composition. You can see that it is even in the skein, you can see that it is pretty damn drapey. And also in the dedicated preview video of this yarn, I will show you some, let me hold them up quickly, some knitted up samples where you can see how the yarn actually behaves, which I always find incredibly helpful. So definitely check out the video. But yeah, so far about Flow, I found it very fitting to call it Flow because it has the most beautiful flowy drape that I absolutely love. And it kind of reminds me a bit of like, you know, a little stream or current that is like very, very flowy and like has a lot of movement to it. So that's how I would describe it. You can actually see how drapey it is. It's very, yeah, it's very flowy, even in the skein. And I'm absolutely in love with this base. It is only available in one weight for now. So the 350 meters per 100 grams, which would technically fall into the slightly heavier fingering weight gauge, and I would definitely say is like fingering to heavy fingering, because with how alpaca fibers behave is that they are relatively dense and they do not bloom a lot. They are more, if you like, they have a longer staple length, and if you spin them, they result in a slightly more condensed and drapey kind of thread instead of like something very plump and fluffy. Hence the slightly lower volume in a thread, I would say. So I guess gauge-wise, I would definitely put this more into the fingering than necessarily sport weight category. So just to give you a bit of an overview, and One of my samples that I made was actually made with it held double because I wanted to test how that one would work in case you're not really into fingering weight gauges. And the other sample I have is actually made with just one skein of yarn, or not even one. So I definitely recommend you check out my dedicated video so I can chat you through them all in depth. But without further ado, I guess let me start sharing some more info with you on what colorways I made on this new yarn. Before I show you all of the colorways that I dyed, I also wanted to mention that, as said in the intro, I will be having a little bit of naturally dyed spinning fiber in the shop. This time we will have our linen base, which is a 75% blue-faced Leicester, 25% linen, so it's unbleached flax in this. And it's very fun to dye on this one, and it's also very fun to spin in my eyes. I think some of you, if you've been around for a while, you might know this blend from last year. So yeah, this is kind of the summer transition blend that I like to have during the warmer months. And this is also the only batch I have of this fiber. So if you're interested, now is the time, because I don't know when I can restock it. Probably it's going to be a couple of months. But yeah, this is how it looks like in its natural state. It has this beautiful heathering because 25% of the blue-faced Leicester in here is brown, or like an oatmeal-y kind of color, that I mix into the whites in order to achieve a colorway that is as close to natural linen as possible. Just to, you know, cherish the beautiful flax fibers in this blend. And this is how it looks. And I will have, I believe, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is it 8 colors? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes, 8 colors on this base. And then this is the natural fiber in its undyed state, which will also be available. I'll show those later on. But if you're interested in participating in Tour de Fleece, now is the time to order. If you place your order relatively timely, I should be able to ship it out to you before Tour de Fleece starts, because current shipping times are relatively good and stable, so I should be able to get that to you before Tour de Fleece starts. I'm not going to host any spin along this year. I was really hoping I could. However, I'm not able because of my capacities being very full at the moment. So apologies for that. However, I still wanted to make some fiber available for you, so I hope you're going to have a fun Tour de Fleece if you're participating in that. Right, without further ado, let me get to showing you some colors. Okay, about the colorways that we'll have for this collection. I will add timestamps down below so you can jump from base to base and see what is interesting for you. However, I recommend to stick to the end because we will also have a little bit of a special around my nurture base. So just in case, I recommend you sticking until then. But let me start sharing the colorways on Flow. So as a reminder, this one is a fingering weight yarn, and this is only available in this one yarn weight. And I will also only have this batch for now because I have dyed up the full amount I had spun of this yarn. It was a relatively small spin because I wanted to test the waters at first with this, you know, slightly bolder blend. So just so you know, this one is the natural color. It's this beautiful, rich and saturated, lovely medium brown that I think is very beautiful to dye on as well. I really enjoyed that. So I also used that one for my Terra Vest sample that you will be seeing in depth in my dedicated intro video about this yarn. I'll link it down below. But it is a very wearable shade of brown, I would say, that is just between a brown and a grey. Not too warm, but definitely a good neutral. That also works amazingly for color work, I would say. So that one is the natural color. Next up, I'll show you some of the dyed shades. This one is called Moonstone, and it is a light purpley lilac-y shade. I know it looks very pale but once you see it next to the undyed, you will see that there is actually some color to it. I always love these like very subtle shades because they are, in my eyes, they are very elegant and also make a great base, for example, when you want to make a cool toned color work project. So that is the Moonstone colorway. Next up we have Lilac, which is this stunning, saturated, beautiful purple. Just to show it to you side by side with the Moonstone colorway, you can see that it's quite a bit more saturated compared to the Moonstone colorway. So far about Lilac. Next up, we'll transition into the more pink and red shades. This one is called Camellia, and it's a beautiful, warm pink. So yeah, this one is Camellia. Next up, we'll have a slightly darker tone, which is called Dahlia. And this is, you know, just a bit darker and a bit warmer in comparison. So this one is called Dahlia. Next up, we have another flower-inspired shade called Zinnia, and this one is more of like a brick red kind of shade that I think is so nice. And this one is actually the one that I used for the Relique kerchief. I'm terribly sorry for butchering the name, but this is the original colorway. You will see this sample in depth in the full intro video, but it requires less than 1 skein, and this is the original color. Next up, we have another almost favorite from the collection, and this one is called Poppy, and it is a very nice, saturated, deep red, I would say. So this one is called Poppy. Let me hold them up kind of side by side if I can. So from here we have Camellia, then we have Dahlia, Zinnia, and Poppy on this side. These are kind of like the pink and purples. Not purples, well, pinks more. And then we're getting to the slightly more saturated reddish shades, and starting with this one, which is called Vintage, and it's this stunning burgundy, brownish burgundy that I think is so wearable. I absolutely love this one. Kind of tempted to snag a skein for myself and make another 1 skein project for myself. So this one is called Vintage. Next up we have Oxalis, which is this slightly deeper and maybe a tiny bit more cooler in undertone burgundy again. And then lastly we have Claret, which is kind of like a deep wine shade that I absolutely love. It's almost like a brown purpley burgundy. So side by side, let me hold them up for you. This one is Vintage, then in the middle we have Oxalis, and then over here we have Claret, which is, you know, the darkest of the 3. I hope it's okay to see like this. So far about those shades. Now we're transitioning into the slightly more greenish yellow and brown tones. So the next shade is called Sage, and this is this beautiful muted dusty green. I think all of the colors turn out so well on this base because it is slightly more deeper in tone. It's giving me very Wool & Twine vibes, if I may say so. It's very my palette. But this one is called Sage. Next up we have Olive, which is, you know, a greeny, yellowy, mustardy olive tone. Next up we have Ochre, which is this, you know, a bit more browny, greenish yellow. It's a bit more green in real life, I would say. It's always a bit difficult with these shades to have them pick up properly on camera, but I hope it's visible. So this one is Ochre. Then we have Amber, which is this stunning saturated brown. Next up we have Brick, which is a beautiful brick red. You know, brick red brown, I would say. Absolutely loving this one. So this one's called Brick. Next up we have Mahogany, which is this deep saturated reddish brown. And lastly, we have Biscuit, which is this also relatively reddish undertoned warm brown. I should probably hold this one up next to Amber so you can see the difference. So Amber is a bit more yellowish, moody, and then Biscuit is a bit more reddish in undertone. Hope this is helpful. And let me see if I can hold them up all together. It's a challenge because there are a lot of skeins, but luckily they are quite squishy. So we'll start on this side. So this one is Sage. Then we have Olive, Ochre, Amber, Brick, Mahogany, and Biscuit on this side over here. So far about the brownish shades. Oh, they look so nice together, don't they? I'm actually really happy with how they all dyed up. But so far about the colorways on Flow. As mentioned, this one will just be available this time as I have not scheduled in another respin of this one yet. But that is it about the Flow base. Let me start sharing the next base with you. Right, in terms of spinning fiber, as mentioned, we have some of the linen blend available, and this one is the undyed colorway, which will be available alongside the dyed ones. So in case you wanted to, you know, combine something or do a marl, some of the undyed will be available. Next up, we will have colorway Almond, which is a beautiful muted warm beige. I'll show it to you next to the undyed so you can see that it's a bit warmer. And also with how I dye these, they always have a bit of variegation throughout. So it's a bit more exciting to spin them up. You can, like when you make these fiber batches, I have control over how many times they are blended together, and I try to not over blend them so they're not completely uniform, because I think it makes more sense, you know, for me as a hand spinner, I do like a bit of variegation, and when it goes through my hands and, you know, the colors are changing. So I actually really like this about how I let them be mixed. So I usually keep them a bit more, you know, you can see that there is some natural variation already in the undyed without even dyeing it. And then during the dyeing process, I also try to not even achieve a uniform color, just because I think it's way more interesting to spin them this way. So this one is the almond colorway. Sorry for rambling, by the way. It's just always so much that goes into these special blends that I make that I feel like I don't talk about that enough. I should probably. So the next colorway we have is Petal, and this is a beautiful multicolored pink. Some warmer tones, some cooler tones, and here you can also see the flax fibers in the skein. They will be even more present in the darker tones, but how this comes to life is that linen or flax is a cellulose-based fiber, and since my dyeing process is catered towards protein-based fibers, so wool and silk, for example, the cellulose doesn't take the dye in the same way as the protein fibers do, and I actually embrace that and have it in this kind of like heathered effect, and I think it's just extremely fun to both spin and also knit with. So I also have this blend in a yarn form, which is what I'm currently wearing. So I'm wearing the Cosmopolitan Tee by Tori Yu, and this one is knitted in the 4-ply weight version of this yarn, which also might be in the shop still, if I'm not mistaken. There might be a few skeins left. But yeah, this is how it turns out, and I think it's just very fun. So this one is called Petal. Then next up we have Amethyst, which is this stunning cool purple, but also with a couple of, you know, warmer bits throughout from the brown BFL. So that one is Amethyst, and these are the two side by side, so Petal and Amethyst. Next up we have the Mint colorway, which is this beautiful warm green, very fresh for summer, I think. You can also see the flax fibers in here again. So all of these will come in these little 100-gram skeins, if you will. I try to twist them in a way that they are also easier to ship because spinning fiber has a lot of volume. So I figured out a way how to twist them in a way that I can ship them in the same box sizes and, you know, kind of similar units to my yarn. So this one is the mint colorway. And then we have a few deeper shades. This one is called Rowan, and it is a deep saturated red. I think this looks so cool with the flax fibers. Can you see them? I think it just looks stunning. So this one is the Rowan colorway. Next up we have Rust, and this one is a rusty red-brown. Let me hold it up next to Rowan so you can see that it's actually a bit more muted. So Rowan is actually slightly more cool in undertone, and then Rust is more of like a rusty color. So that's Rust. Next up we have Toffee, which is this deep brown with some reddish flecks throughout. And also again, you can see the flax fibers in this one extremely well. So this one is called Toffee, and I should probably hold it up next to Rust so you can see the difference. So here they are. And then last but not least, we have Blackcurrant, and this is the deepest of the bunch. Very dark purple burgundy shades in this one. I think it's just very cool. And you can see the flax fibers very well in this one. So this one is called Blackcurrant, and it's one of my favorite berries. I actually eat them, you know, I can eat them like this. They are not too tart or sour for me. I actually love them. So yeah, that is the last shade of the spinning fibers. Now let me get to the next batch of yarn, and this one is also a relatively huge palette. So apologies if it's a bit overwhelming, but I just thought, you know, I would make a big selection available so I could make sure if shop updates are a bit less regular in the next couple of months, that there will be decent stock for this shop update. So I guess without further ado, let me start sharing the colorways with you. So the next base is going to be our Nurture base, which is 100% Finsheep single ply yarn with 380 meters per 100 grams, spun up in Finland by Annina of Irän Kährämö, and this yarn literally travels only once from the sheep farms that are surrounding the mill to the mill, where it then gets washed, carded, spun, and finished up for dyeing. So it has a very small footprint, and I absolutely love it. And I know that some of y'all have a really good sweet spot for this yarn. It is, I get this question a lot. I mean, this is very individual. Big disclaimer, I can only speak for myself. I cannot speak for you because everyone is very, you know, it's a very unique thing how you experience the feel of a yarn. But I would say this is one of our softest yarns. It has a halo though, so if you're sensitive to more fuzzy yarns, it might not seem as soft to you as it is to me. But I find it extremely soft, and I get this feedback a lot that people say, they would not have expected a Finsheep yarn to be this soft. And it is because this is actual Finsheep. And the problem is that some brands do market their yarns as Finsheep yarn, and it is technically a crossbreed between different breeds and very different from pure Finsheep, which is probably where the confusion comes from. But pure Finsheep is one of the lowest micron wools out there, especially in the European world. So it's incredibly soft to my touch, if I say so. And this yarn is very, very special. I absolutely love it. And I dyed a bunch of shades of it on it. So I have it in different base colors, so I can adjust the, you know, undertone of it and then decide what I want to dye on top of it, which makes it incredibly fun for me personally to dye on this yarn. But without further ado, let me start sharing some colorways with you. So this one is the first one, and it is called Shell. It is a very light, soft wash of purple, I would say. So this one is called Shell. Next up we have Lavender, which is this slightly warmish purple, very soft, very summery. So this one is called Lavender. A slight touch darker and a bit warmer, we have Wisteria, which is this stunning berry pink purple, I would say. So yeah, this one is Wisteria. And then I would still call these a purple. Some might not really, but I would call this one a purple, and it is called Fig. And this is dyed on a very dark gray base, so it actually has some purple undertone. It's hard to see on camera, but it is, you know, it has some purple to it. It's almost like a wash of purple over a gray, which is very stunning and wearable, I think. The next colorway is called Moon, and this one is similar to the Fig colorway. It's a slight wash of purple, but slightly more bluish in undertone and dyed on a very dark base. So here you can see them side by side. So this one is Fig. You can see it's a bit more warmish. And then Moon is very, very cool. But at the same time, it's not the same as the undyed. Let me hold that one up. So this one is the undyed base of that color. So it still is a bit different. I'm going to show these more in depth later on, but just to give you an idea of how they behave. Next up, we have the colorway Twilight, which is this very deep bluish purple, also dyed on a darker base, so it gives this very deep heathered effect. So this one's called Twilight. This one is called Blossom, and it is a very beautiful light warmish pink. So this one's called Blossom. Next up, we have White Peach, which is this warm, peachy, salmony kind of pink. Very summery again. So this one's called White Peach. Next up, we have the Mermaid colorway, which is this stunning bluish green that reminds me of seafoam a little bit. So this one is called Mermaid. Next up, we have Moss, which is this stunning, deep, brownish green. Some of the shades that I dyed them on have slight tweedy flecks, and you can see them in this colorway quite well. I think it's very pretty. So this one is the Moss colorway. And then we also have the Lichen colorway, which is this stunning deep green. I'll hold them up side by side so you can see. So Moss is a bit more brownish in undertone, more olivey, and then Lichen is a bit more actual green. Next up, we have the colorway Squirrel, which is this red undertoned beautiful brown. Next up, we have Briar, which is this reddish brown, but also with some berry tones to it. It's a bit hard to describe, but I think it's a very stunning color. Goes with so many things. So this one's called Briar. Next up, we have Hedgerows, which is this very deep kind of pinky tone. I don't know if you can see that well, but it's less rusty and brown compared to Briar. So you can see that here. Sorry for the random cable tie. I just need to make sure that I'm not mistaking the colors because they're quite similar and I like to mark them sometimes. So this one is Briar and then this one is Hedgerows. Next up, we have this stunning colorway that is called Velvet, and it's a deep vintagey kind of red. So this one's called Velvet. Next up, we have Burnt Sienna, which is a bit like a darker version of Briar, if you will. So this one is slightly more brown and reddish in undertone in comparison to Briar. So this one's Burnt Sienna. Then we have Plum, which is this deep burgundy purple. And then we have Mulberry, which is again slightly more reddish in undertone compared to Plum. Not a whole lot though, but slightly. All right, there we go with the dyed colorways on Nurture. Now let me show you some of the undyeds and also tell you a little bit about a special that I prepared for this launch. So first of all, we will have a lot of undyed shades. Let me hold them up all together because it's quite a lot. So we have a few undyed shades, which is because the Fin sheep actually comes in a lot of natural fleece colors, and I absolutely love that about it and like to embrace the natural colors it comes in. So we will start with some restocks. So we will have one more batch of the mocha colorway, which is this stunning deep brown. So this one is mocha, and some of you might have seen this before, but yeah, we're having one last batch of this one. And then also the night sky colorway, which is this very deep anthracite, almost bluish undertoned natural gray that I absolutely love. And these are the last restocks for this year. So because then we'll have to see what kind of fleeces we can get for the next spin. So if you like these shades, they might be around just one more time this year. So that's mocha and night sky. Next up, we will have one more restock of an older colorway, and this one is called Rye, and it is this soft, natural brown that's slightly less warm in undertone compared to mocha. So here you can see them side by side. This one is Rye. We have a new colorway called Gravel, and this is this deep medium gray, and this one is the one that has slightly more tweedy flecks throughout. I don't know if you can see that, but some of the shades were dyed on this base, and it's a bit more tweedy and a bit like more natural in with some naps, and it has a bit more of a wild character, which I absolutely love. Every batch is so unique because it's made in such small batches, and it's always exciting to receive a new one. So yeah, this one is the Gravel colorway, which is the new one. And then we have another new one, and this one is called Oat. And some of you might recall the Porridge colorway from earlier collections, and Oat is a tiny smidge more warm in undertone compared to Porridge. So it's slightly more warm-toned and a bit more, like a tiny bit deeper than Porridge. Porridge is slightly lighter. And then last but not least, we have one more colorway which will not be available in single skeins, but only, packed in sweater packs. I'll get to that in a second. But this one is the Cinder colorway, and it has been around, I think, a while ago. However, this will not be available in individual skeins, just in packages, and I will tell you why now. So if you've been around, you might have seen these before, but what I like to do, some of these skeins, because of how the production works and how small of a batch it is and how much actual manual labor is involved, sometimes there can be batches where I have some skeins that are not full 100-gram skeins. And instead of letting these go to waste, I pre-pack and pre-weigh them into so-called sweater packs, which will contain at least 500 grams. Usually they are quite a bit over of the yarn, and these will be, different weights, like random weights from like 70 grams, some will be 30 grams, some will be 120 grams. Well, all of them will not have exactly 100 grams, so I weigh them and I make those little brown bags that I will put somewhere here on the screen so you can see how they look like. I pack them, and there will be just one label on the front that says what base it is and what colorway. And you will get these at a slightly discounted price. They are roughly 10% less compared to single skein purchases. So yeah, so far about the sweater packs. And since not all batches or all colorways have enough to make sweater packs, not all of the colorways will be available in sweater packs. And also, if you're curious about this or need more info, feel free to email me. However, I know that the Cinder colorway, because that was like last leftovers from the spin we had maybe a year ago. I will only have that one in the sweater packs. I don't have single skeins of this one. I just have a small batch of like maybe 40 skeins that are like off weight. So I will put these into sweater packs, and then it will be available for purchase. This is actual natural color of fin sheep. Incredible, right? And then I definitely know I should have some of the Gravel colorway, but as said, I don't know these right off the top of my head. But I think we won't have sweater packs in Mocha and Night Sky just because we had them last time and we used up those off skeins last time. So these will only be available in 100 grams. And then I believe it's the same for the old colorway. And just to get expectations right, I usually just have a handful of sweater packs per color. So if you're into those, they might be the ones that will be going relatively quickly. At least that was the case in the past. So I recommend being on time for the shop update to pick them up. And once they're gone because these are just making use of, odds and ends from the spinning process in order to have as little waste as possible. And I cannot make more of those or anything. So far about the sweater packs. I hope these will be a fun little addition to this, well, pretty huge collection, if I may say so. I'm sorry for all the rambling, but there is just a lot to show to you. And I just thought, I would have a decent restock of yarn before I have a bit more of like a summer schedule going on. As said, the next collections will not be as regular as they have been in the past months, so I recommend signing up for my newsletter, which is always the easiest to stay updated about everything and have the info first before everyone else gets any info. So that is important to do. And I guess without further ado, let me give you a bit more of an admin section at the end where I talk you through all the things you need to know for the shop update. So the shop update for the June collection, which is everything I just showed you today, will be going live on June 19th, which is Friday, at 8 p.m. CET, which is my local time zone. And yeah, that's when all of these goodies that I just showed to you will be up in my shop. And I will also send out a little reminder newsletter, so you'll definitely know when things are up. And as always, these are one-of-a-kind batches. I cannot really reproduce them, so if one of the colorways is, something you like, I recommend checking in on time for the shop update. And I can also combine orders. So if things get hectic, which I know can sometimes happen with these shop update situations, I'm happy to help you with combining your orders. So just make sure, because I cannot see those double orders automatically. Unfortunately, I don't get an alert or anything that there is a double order. But you can always email me at hello@woolandtwine.com with your order number, which should be, the 4-digit one that you get when you check out. Just send me those 4-digit numbers via email and let me know that you would like me to combine them, and then I will refund the overpaid shipping and combine your orders. It can sometimes take a day or two for the refund to arrive, just because how I usually do the refunds on the weekend, and then the whatever bank or card processing company you use usually takes a few days to process the refund back to your original payment method. However, as soon as you get an email from me that the refund is on its way, it should not take longer than a couple of working days for to arrive with you. Then, as said, Countdown calendar pre-orders are still open, but they cannot be shipped with the June collection. So you need to place a separate order for that one. It's just a digital kind of product. So it's not digital, but it does not require you to pay extra shipping. Everything will be invoiced in August, because this is just the save a slot part of the whole pre-ordering process. So you're just paying the €20 deposit and the full invoice with shipping and potential import costs, and all of that will be coming in August. So yeah, so far about that. As always, feel free to email me at hello@woolandtwine.com if you need any help with choosing the right amounts or potential patterns for your projects. I will also have a full list of pattern suggestions for each yarn that I have linked down below, in case you want to have some inspo or browse some patterns that I've curated. And as mentioned, feel free to check out the dedicated preview video about Flow if you want to see it in action and see my samples about that one as well. So yeah, I guess that was it for this video. And I guess until I'll virtually see you on the next video, Wishing you a great weekend and happy knitting. Bye!